the Dragon outside of the keep-out sphere and then behind the International Space Station to get eventually below, and then start a couple of phasing burns to get in the right orientation, ready for that landing off the coast of Florida. Again, we're 20 minutes behind, so we're looking at that undocking sequence to start at 8:10 p.m. Central Time, with the physical separation targeted for 8:15 p.m. Central Time. And then they'll be able to catch up through some of the phasing to stick with that landing time that we advertised a little bit after 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Mission Control Houston. We are hearing that there may be some availability to move that undocking time up. Teams are evaluating now to see if we can move the undocking time up 5 minutes. We'll stand by.
SpaceX Endeavor, we are go for undock and visors are down, restraints and feet secure.
SpaceX copies all.
And there you have it. You're getting a live look at the SpaceX flight control team in Hawthorne. The words you just heard relayed up to the crew confirm what was being discussed here on the ground. The teams are looking to move the undocking time up 5 minutes. So that sequence that I advertised before is set to start here in about 3 minutes, 5 minutes after the hour, 8:05 p.m. Central Time, 6:05 p.m. Pacific. It's a 5-minute sequence with the umbilical retraction and the hook retraction until there is physical separation with the International Space Station. That new time for undocking, the physical separation at 10 p.m. Central Time.
To have a camera view.
And standby 1, that should be as soon as we command the undocking sequence.
Okay, as soon as we command undocking, standing by.
We're now 1 minute away for the teams to execute the undocking sequence. Again, it's a 5-minute sequence. We're looking at an undock tonight at 8:10 p.m. Central Time, 6:10 p.m. Pacific. crew's visors are down. This is an automatic sequence once they initiate the command to begin the sequence. The undocking time that we'll report will be the physical separation of SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the Ax-1 crew from the International Space Station.
Undock sequence commanded.
You just heard confirmation of the initiation. The undocking sequence has begun. The umbilicals are retracting.
Umbilical demate complete and nominal.
Umbilical has been retracted. The first set of hooks, that's 6 of the 12, are beginning to retract. Again, the umbilical has fully retracted, and the first 6 hooks of 12 are also retracting. Each of the hooks takes a little bit more than 2 minutes to fully retract. You see teams at the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Texas, as well as the SpaceX Flight Control Room in Hawthorne, California, eagerly watching the undocking sequence.
First set of hooks open and nominal.
The first set of hooks you heard, the 6 of them have retracted nominally. The other 6 are now driving in work. We're looking for an undocking 8:10 p.m. Central Time. We're on track to meet that. And we're about halfway through driving those second set of hooks. Once those are completely driven, the sequence to initiate those burns to physically separate the Dragon from the International Space Station will happen relatively quickly. So we'll stand by to witness that physical separation and the official undocking of the first private astronaut crew from the International Space Station.
All hooks open and nominal.
And right on time, physical separation confirmed, 8:10 p.m. Central Time, 6:10 p.m. Pacific.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Burns are nominal so far. SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the first private astronaut crew, Ax-1, separating from the International Space Station, concluding their 15 days aboard the orbiting laboratory.
Depart 0 burn complete and nominal.
Nominal burns for the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour. That's a good undock burns in the first departure burn. Depart burn 0 looking good. Depart burn 1 coming up in about 5 minutes. That undocking time was 8:10 p.m. Central Time, 6:10 p.m. Pacific. The International Space Station was 262 statute miles over the South Atlantic Ocean, west off the coast of Africa. Flight controllers are tracking a good departure of SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the Ax-1 crew inside. Everything's looking good. They're 45 meters away from the International Space Station, slowly separating. We're coming up on 4 minutes past the undocking time of the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the Ax-1 crew. Undocking just 4 minutes ago. We're expecting that next depart burn coming up in a little bit more than a minute and a half. That'll be depart burn 1 that will send the crew out of the keep out sphere, which is a 200-meter zone around the International Space Station with its own set of flight rules. It'll continue to coast outside of the keep out sphere after that depart burn 1 to the approach ellipsoid. The approach ellipsoid about a kilometer away. Once it exits the approach ellipsoid, that ends the joint operations of the International Space Station teams that you see here in Mission Control Houston. It'll be SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne and the Axiom Space teams that'll have the responsibility of taking the crew from the approach ellipsoid down to a safe landing off the coast of Florida. And we're just a few seconds away from the next departure burn. Trajectory is looking good, about a little less than 10 seconds. There you see it. We got confirmation that depart burn 1 has started. You're seeing those Draco engines firing. This is about a 20-second firing.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Depart 1 burn is complete and nominal. At this time, you do have a go to doff your suits per procedure 4.012. As a reminder, ground will be deactivating the big loop following exit from the approach ellipsoid.
SpaceX Endeavour, copy all, proceeding to 4.012.
Good readback.
And you heard her, that's a good depart burn 1. This burn is the last that will take them out of the keep out sphere and the approach ellipsoid, which you heard mentioned on the communications to the crew. In the meantime, it means that a lot of the flight rules for having those suits on during this particularly dynamic phase of flight with the undocking burns separating from the International Space Station, that has concluded, so they're good to take off their suits. It's a 16-hour ride home, so they'll want to be comfortable, get out of those suits and stretch. In the meantime, they'll continue to monitor, of course. We're getting some views, though intermittent, from the inside the Dragon cabin, and they'll be able to move about the cabin, have a meal, and even rest.
SpaceX Endeavour, understand cameras external.
We just got confirmation the Dragon...
Station Houston on the big loop. Dragon has exited the keep out sphere.
Station copies.
So you heard it called up to the crew. The 4-member private astronaut crew have exited the keep out sphere. It'll be about another 13 minutes or so until they exit the approach ellipsoid and officially end joint operations. Now, we'll end our coverage after the approach ellipsoid exit, but the crew's journey, of course, has only just begun. You heard that there will be doffing off their suits or taking them off. That gets them nice and comfortable for the 16-hour commute that they have from the International Space Station down to a splashdown off the coast of Florida. They undocked just west off the coast of Africa. They'll do a couple of orbits of the Earth and then, of course, splashdown off the eastern coast. Their primary splashdown target for this opportunity is Jacksonville, Florida, but they have a couple of backup opportunities identified as well. The teams will be constantly monitoring weather, making sure that it's okay. As you know, weather has been uncooperative for the past couple of days to get our crew members home, but looking at the weather for tomorrow afternoon, Monday the 25th, things are looking good, trending in the right direction, but teams, of course, will continue to monitor. The Axiom crew is just a little less than 400 meters from the International Space Station. They're cruising right now. That was the last departure burn that we saw, departure burn 1. They're really in a coast phase now to get them out of the approach ellipsoid, and then they'll go through a series of additional departure burns and phasing burns to get them in the right orientation for a splashdown off the coast of Florida. Andy and Trisha, I don't know if you guys were watching, but it was absolutely incredible to see the Axiom crew undock from the International Space Station, especially during a nighttime. You really got to see those Draco engines light up. It was truly astounding from this end. Let's toss it over to Hawthorne, Trisha, and Andy. I wonder what your perspective was now seeing that the Axiom crew has undocked from the International Space Station, concluding their stay at the orbiting laboratory.
Thanks, Gary. Yes, it certainly was very exciting to watch the Dragon undock from the space station. Things are looking great right now. The crew is on their way to exiting the approach ellipsoid. And so after, about 15 days aboard the International Space Station, the first all-private astronaut crew is wrapping their mission that began just over 16 days ago now. It's been a mission full of scientific and outreach objectives with the overall goal of expanding space access to a wider global audience. The historic mission began on April 8th with the launch of our Ax-1 crew in the Crew Dragon Endeavour from Kennedy Space Center's Launch Pad 39A. Endeavour then made its approach to the ISS, culminating in a successful dock to the Zenith port. The crew, those are some really great shots of the Crew Dragon on Launch Pad 39A. It was a beautiful day and a gorgeous view there of the Dragon approaching the ISS. The crew, after they docked, was then welcomed by the Expedition 67 crew in the official welcome ceremony. And from there, they jumped right into their busy schedule and maximized every bit of their time for scientific and outreach objectives. Some of it involved getting used to this entirely new environment. The crew had, over 700 hours of training to prepare for their life on orbit, but when it becomes a reality, it certainly takes some time getting used to it. For example, the fluids behave in a much different way. You have to figure out how to move your body around in a zero-gravity environment. So, there is a period of time to get used to it. The crew's time on station also included observations conducted from the cupola, which has a beautiful view of the Earth. There you can see a gorgeous view of the horizon and some gorgeous views of the auroras right above it. The crew was also able to film some of their day-to-day aspects of on-orbit life. You can see a food storage bag there with all different kinds of meals available for them to eat. I like the peanut butter can right there. These day-to-day aspects are exactly part of what they were able to show in the numerous outreach events that they held on orbit. Larry, Aton, and Mark held several outreach events with students from many different schools and museums. MLA called an international committee conference to order, and Aton spoke with the Israeli president while on orbit, highlighting Israel's return to spaceflight after Ilan Ramon, the first Israeli astronaut to fly, and marking Aton as the first Israeli astronaut to be on the ISS. These kinds of events are critical to raising awareness and excitement for the future of spaceflight in future generations. Also, it's just, really cool to be able to talk to an astronaut real time while they're 250 miles above you in space. Now, additionally, one of the primary objectives of this mission was research and technology demonstrations. For example, the first ever successful demonstration of two-way holoportation shown by Mark there, which will enhance telemedicine efforts and help facilitate deep space missions. Additionally, optical lens experiments conducted by Aton that you see on the screen there, the precision in manufacturing that they can achieve in zero gravity significantly bolsters deep space astronomy research efforts. Aton also led a neuro wellness technology demonstration to monitor brain activity. And they also had the Astro Skin Vest demonstrations worn by Mark, which will directly inform new detection techniques for problems with heart, lung, and circulation systems. The mission wasn't only about science and outreach, though. The arts played a big role as well. MLA and Prodigy pianist Black Bach made music in space history when they performed a keyboard and piano duet of an original composition. Aton also displays here a beautiful ring specifically designed for microgravity. And those were just some of the highlights of the trip, and there was so much more accomplished than what was able to be shown in that video. We'd probably be here for the next 15 days if we went through in detail. But for those of you who are interested, please check out the URL axiomspace.com/ax1-research for an inside look into exactly what they were able to accomplish while on orbit.
Yeah, that was some really cool clips. I really liked MLA eating or I guess drinking or eating the ball of orange juice,
Yeah.
and that space ring looked super cool. For now, Dragon is continuing to exit and distance itself from the International Space Station. We're going to check back in with Gary at in Houston, Texas for updates. Gary?
Hey, thanks, Andy and Tricia. Really great to see a lot of the activities that they performed on board the International Space Station. It was truly a sprint. When we talk about long-duration stays aboard the International Space Station, it's really a marathon. 6 months is a very long time, and they got a lot of experiments to do. But it's not to shy away from the amount of activities that were accomplished on board the Ax-1 mission. Lots of science, lots of outreach activities. They truly did a lot, and of course that journey is now coming to an end. So far, the trajectory looks very good for the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the Ax-1 crew separating from the International Space Station. Exit of the approach ellipsoid is just minutes away. They safely exited the keep out sphere, and we did hear confirmation that 2 of the 4 astronauts are already out of their suits, and they're going to start drying them to make sure that they're nice and comfortable for when they re-don them for the next dynamic phase of this flight, which is of course their re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere and splashing down off the coast of Florida. In the meantime, we'll follow from here in Mission Control Houston to make sure that they safely exit the approach ellipsoid, and we'll stand by for confirmation of that. And then of course from then we'll wrap up our coverage, but we'll be monitoring every step of the way with really the prime responsibility over with SpaceX and with Axiom Space. This is a live look from the flight control teams over in Hawthorne. They'll be monitoring the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour and the Ax-1 crew through the 16-hour journey until they're safely returned to Earth. We just got confirmation the approach ellipsoid exit is expected in about a minute. From there, the teams you're seeing on the screen will take full control over the SpaceX vehicle and the crew inside. Right now, still in joint operations with the International Space Station flight control teams here in Houston, just making sure they exit from the vicinity of the International Space Station. That approach ellipsoid, it's more like 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers is the exact specifications of that true ellipsoid. So we'll stand by for confirmation once they've exited that space. And with that, we have confirmation. The Ax-1 crew has officially exited the approach
Dragon
ellipsoid.
SpaceX on the big loop. Dragon has exited the approach ellipsoid and is on a safe free drift trajectory. Houston will be taking down the big loop shortly. Expect ISS audio traffic to cease. We hope you enjoyed your time with your hosts on Crew 3, and we're looking forward to getting you home. At this time, we also request swapping any audio destinations back to Dragon to ground when able.
Copy all, Mike. Break. Laura, you and the team there in Houston, thanks once again for all the support through this amazing adventure that we've had, even longer and more exciting than we thought. We really appreciate your professionalism, and with that, we'll sign off.
All right, you heard it, folks. The Ax-1 crew has exited the approach ellipsoid. They are officially outside of the jurisdiction of the International Space Station. It's truly up to the teams at SpaceX and Axiom Space to get these guys home. You heard those congratulatory words from the commander of the mission, Michael Lopez Alegria, commending the work of the NASA teams and, of course, the teams at SpaceX and Axiom for their wonderful stay, an extended stay at that. 15 days aboard the orbiting laboratory. They got a lot to experience and, of course, a lot to share when they get to the ground. They're on a 24-hour safe trajectory right now, which means that if anything were to go wrong, they would be in a good course not to intersect or any conjunctions that are in the way. So everything's looking good on that end. So with that, from here in Mission Control Houston, we will conclude our coverage of this mission and truly hand it over to the teams at SpaceX and Axiom Space. It's been a wonderful ride. I've been very close personally to this mission, working very hard to make sure that they've been able to execute all of their activities on board, and it's been a true honor to be a part of this mission and through all of the 15 days. A lot has happened, and it's really the beginning of something greater. This is the first mission of its kind, and NASA's goal is to see more missions like this. Private astronaut missions will be the customer demand in the future for NASA to be eventually one of many customers working side by side with private astronauts on commercial destinations. Folks, this is just the beginning of that era, and it was truly an honor to be a part of it. With that, that'll wrap up our coverage from here in Mission Control Houston. To Trisha and Andy, I'll toss it over to you guys in Hawthorne to bring us home. Thanks for having us be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Well put. Thanks for walking us through the joint operations portions of the mission. Now that Michael, Larry, Mark, and Eitan have departed the International Space Station, it's going to take them about 16 hours until they make their way back to Earth. Next up, the crew will continue to doff their spacesuits and get a little bit more comfy for flight. In about an hour, they will get ready for a rest period that will last for about 10 hours, 8 hours for actual sleeping, and a couple hours for pre- and post-sleep activities. As they rest, our teams here will continue to keep an eye on the weather to ensure a safe return to Earth for Dragon and the Ax-1 crew.
And should the current projections hold, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday, April 25th, Axiom and SpaceX will pick back up with live coverage of the conclusion of this Ax-1 mission. Should teams need to adjust the timing of splashdown, it is our plan to go live about an hour before splashdown occurs. For the latest on the timing of this final stage of the Ax-1 journey, be sure to visit axiomspace.com, and you can track Dragon's flight on spacex.com/launches. From all of us at Axiom Space, thank you to NASA for the incredible efforts made on this mission towards the shared goal of opening low Earth orbit for commercial endeavors, and thank you for tuning in. We look forward to sharing the culmination of this mission with you soon.